Внимание! Пуск! Есть пуск!
Escalate to de-escalate. It's an old playbook used by the Soviet Union. First you raise the stakes very high, then you wait for the other side to blink, to de-escalate. Both Russia and Ukraine appear to be using this playbook. Today, the United States shut its embassy in Kyiv. They're expecting a significant Russian airstrike on the city. There was a barrage this morning, but it was repelled by Ukraine's air defenses. Nonetheless, America is advising caution. They're asking citizens to be alert for air raid warnings. But why this escalation now? Because of US President Joe Biden. He's in the lame duck phase of his presidency and he's not holding back. This week, he permitted Ukraine to fire American missiles at Russia. We're talking about the long-range ones, missiles that can strike deep inside Russian territory. Once the permission came, Zelensky did not wait around. On Tuesday, he fired 6 missiles at Russia. American-made ATACMS missiles. These are guided weapons made by Lockheed Martin. Their range is up to 300 kilometers. Ukraine fired 6 of them at a military facility in Bryansk. Russia says 5 of these missiles were shot down and the 6th was damaged in the skies. Some of the debris did fall near the facility, but no damage and no casualties. Ukraine is yet to announce this attack publicly, but Zelensky dropped a major hint. He said, we have long-range missiles and we will use them.
I'll not go into details. Ukraine has long-range capabilities. Ukraine has long-range drones made in Ukraine. We now have not only one long Neptune. And we now have ATACMS, and we will use them, all of them.
Now, Bryansk is not on the front line. It is located around 120 kilometers inside Russia. So naturally, Vladimir Putin had to respond. He has revised Russia's nuclear doctrine. The earlier one was drafted in 2020. It said that Russia would use nuclear weapons only in response to a nuclear attack. Basically, nukes for nukes. That was a policy. The new one lowers that threshold. It says Russia can use nukes to respond to a conventional attack as well, not just a nuclear attack. The West has slammed Putin's move. They're calling it irresponsible.
There's irresponsible rhetoric coming from Russia, and that is not going to deter our support for Ukraine.
It is not the first time that they threaten with nuclear escalation, which is completely irresponsible. Russia has subscribed to the principle that a nuclear war cannot be won, and so must never be fought.
Since the beginning of its war of aggression against Ukraine, it has sought to coerce and intimidate both Ukraine and other countries around the world through irresponsible nuclear rhetoric and behavior.
We have seen Putin do this before. Tweak his nuclear policy, hold drills with nuclear weapons, or threaten a nuclear escalation. It was scary the first time, but does it still carry the same fear? Well, Russia can always use tactical nuclear weapons in Ukraine. These are sort of like mini nukes, tactical nuclear weapons. But that depends. The usage depends on the other side too, on whether Ukraine wants to escalate further. Joe Biden is giving them the tools. He has decided to give landmines to Ukraine's army. These are bombs concealed in the ground. They can take out unsuspecting enemy soldiers, basically slow them down. In eastern Ukraine, Russia has been making significant progress. They're capturing village after village. So landmines could help Ukraine slow down Russia. Of course, the worry is civilian casualties. If soldiers cannot spot landmines, neither can civilians. Despite that worry, Joe Biden is giving these weapons to Ukraine. It tells you how desperate he is. And all of this is happening at a very crucial time. A, Donald Trump is waiting in the wings. His allies have slammed Biden's decision. They say that he's encouraging World War III. And B, the war has crossed 1,000 days. Several events were held to mark the day in Kyiv, in Tel Aviv, and in Europe. Take a look at this. So what happens next? All clues point to an escalation. Ukraine says 100,000, 1 lakh North Korean soldiers could be deployed against them. If true, that's a huge number. Plus, the rest of the world is losing interest. Just look at what happened at the G20. The host, Brazil, cut short discussions on Ukraine. They approved the joint declaration 1 day in advance. That too, when Ukraine's allies were not in the room. The joint statement does not slam Russia for the war, nor does it include last year's crucial point. The Delhi G20 declaration said that this is not an era for war. The Rio declaration does not say this. So clearly the world is losing interest, and that sentiment will only be more pronounced when Trump takes charge, which is why both sides are in a hurry. They want to gain the upper hand before Trump forces them to the table. Reports say Russia is open to a ceasefire, but Putin has certain conditions. He won't give up the land seized by Russia. He will not allow Ukraine to join NATO, and he will not freeze the front lines.
The president has also already said that some option of freezing this conflict will not work for us. It is important for us to achieve our goals, which are well known to everyone.
The next couple of weeks promise to be tense. There are two things you should watch out for. The first is the signals from Europe. They have promised to support Ukraine regardless of what Trump does. Let's see if they follow it up. And chances are Russia will try to scare them off, perhaps by using hybrid tactics like cyber attacks or sabotage or assassinations. And we saw that in the Baltic Sea. 2 undersea internet cables were cut this week. The West believes it was sabotage. The NATO chief has also warned about it. He says Russia could shift the front lines to Europe to scare off Ukraine's allies. So that's the first thing to watch out for, Europe's moves. And second, keep an eye on Zelensky. He had a meeting with Trump before the election. He knows that Donald Trump prefers a negotiated end to the war, so Zelensky could try to sway him, maybe by taking the fight to Russia and showing the world that he can win, or by securing some gains as leverage on the table. Either way, one thing is quite clear. Both sides sense 2025 will be a momentous year for the war. They want to have an upper hand heading into it. And that means more escalation before things improve.